You do not have to really be clever to understand that there's something wrong in the world. Every time we have a breakthrough, it doesn't take long before things collapse again. And if you look around and you see how people are like, they work and they give all their life, and just as they've got everything, then they die. So ultimately, this realm that we live in is dominated by death. But there's something else. And if you are alive, you can sing the song that all your life He just has been faithful, and you always experience the goodness of God. But it's somehow confusing because over and over things happen that, wow, it's not what God is. And then we follow the pattern that Adam said, and we start blaming God. Adam said, this wife you gave me. Whoa, what did God do? God didn't kill people. God didn't make people sick. He came so that we can be healed, and He came so that we can be saved. So we need to understand the goodness of God. In Adam, all have sinned and fell short of the glory of God. Moses was the first person that said, show me your glory. And on that mountain, everything changed. And God revealed to him His goodness. He said, my goodness shall pass by you. So he saw the goodness from the beginning to the end. Isaiah 46:10 says, the end is always set from the beginning. And David wrote and said, thy word is settled in the heavens. And this is what we find in Genesis, that Moses wrote 2,500 years after Adam. God's goodness, he saw it passing by in 7 periods. In the Spirit, 1 day is with God is 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as 1 day. So we need to understand this awesome vision of Genesis and the vision of Revelation. Both these books carry spiritual language, so we can hear what the Spirit says. But the natural man cannot understand the things of the Spirit. And the natural man always wants to change things because they can't speak spirit. The minute you change things, your natural man becomes carnal. And Romans 8 tells us that the carnal mind is enmity with God. It opposes the purposes of God. Because Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for good for those that love God, those that are called according to His purpose. We are not called according to our imaginations, but the goodness of God can be found in time. Time is not a curse, it's a gift. Where God's goodness in 7 periods set out in Genesis, which serves as the floor plan for time. Everything in the Spirit follows patterns, and you can calculate time and you can follow the patterns, but you cannot change history and you cannot change the set times. So Genesis has 7 days, which is 7 perfect periods. For in time, 1 day is with God is 1,000 years. And 1,000 years is 1 day. For us, a day is 24 hours. So you cannot read a spiritual book and say a day is a day. Because on day 1, God separated light and darkness. And He called light day. And everything was created in light day, which is a perfect realm. And then there were 7 days. In time, 1 day with God is as 1,000 years. But in perfection, 1,000 years is a perfect period. So there were 7 perfect periods. In the Spirit, everything overlaps and envelops. And so every time you read about 7, it means God is working in time. There were 7 fat cows and 7 thin cows. In the dream, which the king of Egypt, which was the world, had, then Joseph was set in place to bring provision, but the cup was in Benjamin's bag. The son of my sorrows have become the son of my right hand. Joseph is a picture of Jesus, and Benjamin, the son of my sorrows, which is humanity, have become the son of my right hand. Ultimately, we will be restored as sons, taking back our dominion in the kingdom. 7 fat cows are the day of creation with 7 periods. 7 thin cows is the day of destruction, or the detour of knowledge, called the day of death, because God said to Adam, do not eat, in that day you'll die. And Genesis 2 verse 4, he says, these 7 days are the generations of the heavens, when God made the heavens and the earth in a day. So these 7 periods was for God but the day of creation. And in Genesis 4, our days were made. He says there were 2 lights that will give light upon the earth. Why would we need light upon the earth? Because in John 1 he says, in him was light, and the light was the life. But in the fallen situation, we are in need of sunlight for light. But Paul saw a light that is brighter than the midday sun, and he changed. His blindness fell off and he could see again. So we need to see. You need to taste to see the goodness of God. And then you need to eat to live. So many people know that Jesus died and he washed our sins away, but they don't really live. They don't really eat of him. And there was a man on a cross who said, please remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus said, no, I'll be with you in paradise. The kingdom is the growing on earth. Now, to even see the kingdom, you must be born again. To be born of water and fire, you can enter the kingdom. But when you die to your will, or you renew your mind, that's the point where his mind becomes yours and you totally step into his purpose. And this is the call that goes out. David said, who will go up this mountain? Jesus said, I have prepared you a place that you can be where I am. This place is a person. It's a high place of victory in a very dark world. And there will come a time that the goodness of God will totally saturate human spirit, soul, and body. And he says, I show you a mystery. We shall not all die, but we shall all be changed. Light came into darkness. Jesus dealt with Satan and he poured light into our hearts, and this light is growing in our hearts. We are not fighting Satan. We are in opposition to darkness, and it's only the light life of God that can drive the darkness out. It is not our doing, it's our being. It's about sitting at the table where your cup runs over, where the goodness and mercy will follow you all the days of your life. And you will dwell in the house of the Lord, not the house of Moses. So we need to understand the times and seasons set out in the Bible. The Spirit has a language of colors, symbols, patterns, and numbers. If we do not understand this language, we are just reading a history book. But when you understand the Spirit language, it takes you up the mountain.